platform to get rid of the Department of Education. And yet, last go around, last Republican, doubled the size of the Department of Education. Is there any wonder that people get cynical and upset and angry at what's happening from Washington? Because on occasion, the people are starting to think they lied to us in Washington. No, but the system has been bipartisan, but it's bipartisan because the prevailing attitude of the people around the country have been educated by the same groups of people. Now, what's happening today is there's a new education going on. It's not always in the university. Sometimes it is, but there's something going on because you can get your information so much faster. The availability of the internet. I was just really shocked during the last, in the campaign, where attending at the University of Michigan, people there knew. Okay, now you'll have to undo them because when the subject of money came up, they said, and the fair. But I will suggest that on occasion, talking to an audience like this, I've always been impressed when students and others recognize that there is a school of thought called the Austrian School of Economics. And then there's other economists other than Keynes and Samuelson and Paul Krugman, people like Mises and Hayek and Rothbard. That is where we've made the inroads, that the intellectual climate has changed. There's reason to be pessimistic about Washington, but the good news is outside of Washington. The good news is here. People know and understand what is happening, and those views are changing. When the views change, Washington will change. We still have vehicles available to us. Quite frankly, I was rather cynical a long time before you got cynical. That was back in the 70s. I was cynical then, and I thought, well, I'm going to run for Congress, and I'm going to run giving my speech that I'm giving currently, and I've given for 30 years, and I figured, well, at least I'm going to get it off my chest, and I'm going to say I did my part, run one time, get defeated, and that would be it, and nobody would care. And I would say, well, lo and behold, there were more people there than I dreamed of. There were a lot more of you than I ever dreamed of in 2008. I mean, this is fantastic what is happening. It's much bigger. This is almost like a movement. Like politics. I'm talking about education right now. Now, some people that I know and I respect, they believe strongly in education like I do, but they don't believe in political action, and I think that's okay too. But if you want to take intellectual material and an understanding and ideas, you eventually have to translate them into political action. The founders of this country were very, very well educated, but I would have to say they were willing to be political activists as well, and fortunately for us. We have a long way to go, and certainly I've talked a lot about foreign policy, and we do need a new foreign policy. We need, it can be, and when we do have, the only question should be, what is the foreign policy, and is it correct? Not whether it's bipartisan or unipartisan or whatever. We should have a new foreign policy compared to what we have today, but not brand new to our Constitution, or not brand new to our traditions, and not actually brand new to the Republican Party. What we need is a foreign policy of principled non-intervention. They're not quite sure what and some say, oh, that means isolationism. No, it means mind our own business. Don't impose our will on other people. And it would also translate into bringing all the troops home, not only the Middle East, but Germany and Japan. The founders believed in that, and in recent history, even in the early part of the 20th century, there was strong movements trying to keep us out of war. And now it is so sad for us now, for both parties to accept this idea, a preventive war that aren't even declared by the Congress. This is devastating. It leads to this mentality where no longer do we respect civilian courts, and it's permissible to have secret courts, courts that we don't know where they are. They have constitutional rights. They don't have the right of habeas corpus. This is what is existing today because they say, oh yes, we're in a war. We're in a war against terrorism. And therefore, under war conditions, we can do this. This is very, very dangerous. The Director of Intelligence, Blair, the other day, a couple weeks ago, was in a hearing, and the subject came up about what was our position on assassinations. And he explained to them that, yes, they had a position that they can assassinate. Only the bad guys, though.
How does that make us safer?
And it came out very clearly that we have now openly stated, even though they've been doing this in the past, openly stated that the American government has a policy of assassinating even American citizens. Without trial. But they have one way of determining which ones. If anybody is a threat. So if anybody is deemed a threat by some unknown individual in the administration, that he can be put on the list, and there's 3 or 4 on the list. But you know, they probably are some very bad people out there. But what's the matter with the courts? Why in the world would we ever give up the rights of our courts? The principle of habeas corpus has been around since 1215, and it has survived rather well. It took a long time to be established. The founders understood this, and it was a principle of natural law, and it influenced our Constitution. And now we're saying that we don't have to follow that under certain circumstances. Every time they say that, well, we do this only with terrorists, these are the bad guys, you got to treat these people this way, they don't deserve this, you have to substitute a word. They're suspects. Yes, they're suspects, and they may well be bad, but you don't a whole system just to get rid of one person quick. What are they afraid of? Why don't they just, if they're bad people? We have had already 300 and some individuals tried in civilian courts that have been charged with criminal acts that they call terrorism, and they've been convicted and put in prison. But all of a sudden now they want to institutionalize this. Along with this, we have become, in the other parts of the world, we have become a nation known as a nation of torture. And that's not the image of America. It's not the image of our Constitution. We need to reverse it. You know, those who charge us with saying that we're isolationists, that we don't, we want to isolate ourselves from the world. That's the last thing what this policy is all about. Matter of fact, it's a much better way of intermingling with the world. And that is that if you don't fight with people, you don't tell other people how to live and what to do. You know, we have 2 choices that we give other countries. We go to them and then we say, well, we want you to do this. And they say, well, okay, what's in it for us? Well, we'll give you money. And then they say, all right, we go to somebody else. We want you to do this. What's in for us? Well, we don't want your money. We're not going to do it. Well, one group gets money, the other group gets bombed. Why don't we just give them